Greetings, members, one and all of the Salivation Nation. We're going to be talking to somebody about a precious metals IRA. Let's explore. Yes, we're going to be interviewing Viva Watson about precious metals IRAs. But before we do that, I want to remind you of an experience that I had. It was captured on a video entitled "My Largest Silver and Gold Unboxing Ever," or something to that effect, where I cashed out my traditional IRA so that I could buy precious metals. And at the time, precious metals IRAs were really not much of a thing. Since then, they've become fairly popular. But I took a big hit on taxes because I cashed out much earlier than I would have retired. And so I took a big hit on that. And because I was not sure what the state of the economy would be at the time with multiple rounds of quantitative easing and the like. So now we have Viva Watson, who has taken some money and put it into a precious metals IRA. And we're going to talk about that with Viva Watson. So hello, Viva. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Sal. We're going to get into a little dry subject here, but it's important for people to know about this. We'll educate people a bit.
Sure, that's great. And with your experience and looking into this and having money in it, I think this is a wonderful way to let people know about what the benefits and drawbacks to such a thing is. But before we start, IRAs are simply tax shelters for a period of time, right?
Yes. What happens is that you reduce your taxable income. Let's say you make $60,000. You can, if you're an individual, you can take $7,000 of that, put it in this special kind of savings account, an IRA, and you are not taxed on that money. You get taxed on it when you take the money out when you are retired.
Which is a deferred taxes, essentially, right?
It's deferred taxes. You do have to pay tax on the money, eventually if you live long enough. But it's nice to reduce the total amount, so that means you pay less taxes when you're younger.
Right, that's right. And when you're older, your income is going to be much less, so you're not going to be put into a new tax bracket when you cash out.
Usually you make less when you're older, not always, but
That's right. Yep, that's right.
Well, there are two kinds of IRAs. There's precious metals and then just traditional regular ones. Actually, there are others, but and you make deposit of cash, but the precious metals are the ones that are of interest to us.
Right. And typically with these type of IRAs, there's a custodian of the precious metals themselves where they're held in a vault with your name on them. Yours says Viva Watson on it.
Yes. Yeah, I wish I could see it. See, talking of drawbacks, I'm glad you mentioned that word because it reminds me to tell your listeners, and your listeners love to touch and look at and enjoy the brilliance and beauty of their precious metals. Unfortunately, when you have a precious metals IRA, you don't get to see them. That's the whole idea of an IRA. The money is out of your control. You have to take that money and put it into a special account. With a precious metals IRA, there are other parties. There's the dealer, like an APMEX, and there is what I call an IRA custodian, a precious metals IRA custodian. They are a separate company. You got the dealer and you got the vault, and then that's 4 parties involved.
Right. So there's counterparty risk essentially with this, and we're looking at the company that you have your precious metals in, New Direction Trust Company, but it could be any other. This is not an endorsement of any particular company. This is more just something to kind of show. And but there's also, with regards to precious metals IRAs, they have certain kinds of metal, or, like for instance, here it says that a gold IRA must be 99.5% pure, silver 3/9 fine, palladium 3/9 and 5 fine, and platinum, but also types too, like eagles would be eligible, but maybe not the Queen's Beasts, I don't know.
Right. Well, very, very good point. Yeah, there are specific types of products that you are only specific ones that you are allowed to put in this. The whole thing is like chain of custody. The whole thing is that everything is secure and okay and proper beginning to end. The precious metals themselves are out of your hands. You don't get to touch them. You don't get to see them or enjoy them. And there are very specific items that you can choose from. Now, those specific items are, if I'm not mistaken, they have to be like a sovereign type of coin, or something that is issued by a government, something that is recognizable, highly recognizable. For example, you can buy Canadian maples. Okay, so they're not U.S. coins, but they're so what would be the
recognizable, and liquid.
They are, you're more assured with them than maybe a salivation metal.
Right. Yes.
Metal, a coin.
Yes, exactly. That's right. The salivation.
Which, by the way, I got one the other day. It's absolutely beautiful. All right, I love it.
Thank you. Wow, that's cool.
Yes,
it's just not IRA eligible.
IRA.
That's right. Yeah.
Not IRA approved.
That's okay. All right.
I mean, I would approve it.
Oh, well, thank you. Oh, man.
2 slurps on that.
2 slurps,
okay,
yes.
Thing.
All right, so yeah, that's great. Now, as a caveat, now this particular company looks like doesn't allow for people to take possession, but there are precious metals IRA companies that do. But I've heard that there's some pitfalls to doing that. And then the other thing, as far as in terms of the actual precious metals themselves that are in a vault with your name on them, you have to pay storage fees to hold them there, correct?
Yeah, I have to pay certain substantial fees, insurance, shipping, storage fees every year. So you really have to be dedicated to this. You have to have the idea in your mind that down the road, when you retire, these metals are going to be worth perhaps quite a bit more than you paid for them, and it will easily cover all of these costs. But yeah, you got to fork over a fair amount of money. For me, it comes to like $300 a year.
Wow.
And yeah. So, you just definitely have to be dedicated to the idea.
And I imagine it would probably, if it's $300 a year, that may be a flat fee. I'm not sure, but does it depend on how much you have in the storage?
I don't really know. I think it's a flat fee. You got it or you don't. I mean, perhaps it's how much space your metals take up. Let's say you have just gold and platinum, or palladium,
right.
And that you would need a smaller vault.
Right.
Than if you have a lot of silver.
Sure. Well, very good. There's another drawback that some in our community might find with actually setting up this IRA. Can you explain that process?
Well, first you have to start an account. It's like a bank account with what I call an IRA custodian. It's somebody who is bonded and approved by the government. In fact, this IRA thing, everything is, very double check, triple check with the government. So I find them to be very good, trustworthy people, at least the IRA people I have. So you set up an account. You do have to forego a lot of private information about yourself, sensitive private information. So then you tell them how much you want to put in, because you can decide how much you want to contribute every year. And you tell them who you want to work with, what dealer you want to work with, what vault you want to work with. They'll do whatever you please. They work for you. You may not want to forego this kind of information. There's other drawbacks. Would be some of the fees that you have to pay every year, and the biggest, I think, drawback especially to your listeners, Sal, is that you don't get to see your metals.
Right.
And that's the whole idea of the IRA. You don't get your hands on this stuff to do something you shouldn't do. You have to trust everybody working for you, and there has to be a chain of custody that is not broken or contaminated in any way, and you yourself are the one that could contaminate it.
Right.
You cannot take these metals and tamper with them, or sell them, or make a loan with them, or anything like that. It's out of your hands. That's the whole idea of an IRA.
And there's some precious metal IRAs that do allow you to take possession, but I don't know what, there may be drawbacks to that too, and you mentioned some of that a little bit there too. So yeah.
You don't get to see them. Now you contribute when you're a young person on a yearly basis, up to $7,000 as an individual, $14,000 if you file jointly. The whole thing is to deduct from your income. When you're a young person, when you're making a lot of money, hopefully, and you want to shelter your money, reduce the amount of money that you're being taxed. And then later on in your life, after when you are retirement age and typically you are making less money, maybe you are taxed at a lower rate, then you take what's called a distribution, and you take amounts that actually you choose. It's like taking money out of any savings account. You choose how much you want to take out. And actually there's other rules where you were required to take money out, but that's separate. And then at that time you pay tax on the money, which is way after the time when you earned it.
Right. So this, when you take out, let's talk a little bit about that. You're actually taking out not money, but precious metals.
That's for sure. See, what you do is I deposited in this most previous year, 2019, I deposited the full amount that I'm entitled to do, which was $7,000. And down the road, when I retire, I will want to take distribution of that. It's deposited as cash. Then your IRA, your precious metals IRA custodian, then purchases the metals on your behalf, and then that dealer who you chose, in my case it was Provident Metals. Provident Metals sent my precious metals directly to the vault.
Right.
And
okay.
I got information by email when that was taking place. They sent me tracking information, and it's kind of fun. But one of the most fun parts is when you get to pick the metals when you're actually speaking with a Provident Metals or AppMex. It's fun to talk with a representative and actually pick out specific items which can have numismatic value, which brings us to the next subject, the distribution.
Right. Yes. And so when you take possession of these metals, how is that reported? How is that noted in terms of value?
That is the big fat question of the day. And I will say, Sal, that, we really shouldn't shout too loud about this. This should be kept, kind of close to the vest with all of your listeners. Your listeners love precious metals. If they want to get into this, they need to shelter their money, they might consider this. We don't really want to talk about what I'm about to do. We want our people to know, but Just keep it to yourself. That's what I'm trying to say. And you'll see why once I say.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So there's three kind of ways you would imagine that these metals would be valued. One, what you paid for them. What I have is I've put in $32,000 over 6 years into this account. The physical value, I think it would run with numismatic value taken into consideration. They'd be worth, I believe, about $40,000 right now. That's a bit of a wild guess, but
right. Okay.
The third way would be at spot. Okay. So once you take the distribution, you actually need money when you're retired. You take money out of this account. You have to pay tax. So what do you want? You want to pay. You want that amount to be valued at the lowest amount that could be. So what would that be? What would that be today? That would be spot.
Right.
That would be spot today.
And spot's lower today for silver, especially. Lower. Yeah.
It's this giant divergence which is happening right now. Now I am retirement age. I'm actually gonna be 65 in less than a month.
Okay. All right.
You didn't know that. You didn't know that, Sal.
I know that.
How about that? So I mean, I'm really at the age when I want to start taking distribution.
Sure.
And most people take a little at a time, year by year. But I'm thinking of taking the whole darn thing out, and I'm very much thinking of clicking the button on that one.
Might be a good idea since spot's low now on the paper markets anyway.
You bet it would be a very good idea. That's why I'm talking to you today.
Right. Yeah. This is exciting.
This is the big secret. My IRA custodian, I was looking, I went online to my online account with the custodian. And I went in there, and there's this big fat number at the top at the valuation of my precious metals. And they said like $24,000.
Wow.
I go, how could that be? I put 32 in, over the years. And I thought, who are they jipping me? What's going on? And then I thought then I called them, how are you? And they said, oh, we value that at spot. And at first that upset me because I didn't think it through.
Right.
And then when I thought it through, I go, hey, wait, this is awesome.
Yes.
The lower the better.
Exactly.
If they valued it at $2,000, all the better.
Yes.
Because they're going to take a piece of paper, they're going to make out a piece of paper and send it to the IRS and say what the value of these metals were when I took the distribution. The word is distribution, when I took possession. So these metals are going to come to me, and they're going to come to me in physical form. I can't wait to see them.
Right, I'm sure, yes.
I mean, it's going to be that'll be one hell of an unboxing.
Oh,
right?
It sure would be, exactly. I'll be right over to watch, yeah.
Okay, so I can do so I will pay tax on that spot price, which is about, but they're telling me $24,000 because spot is so low right now.
Yes, exactly. A good time to take it out. Yes.
It's fantastic. So I will pay tax on $24,000 versus $32,000 that I paid, and also versus $40,000, which I believe it's worth.
Right. So when you go to sell that metal, if you were to sell it, more than likely it'll be worth a lot more, especially with what's going on in the world today and what we think will happen in the next couple of months with a recession, and already starting to see, metals move in another direction. The physical market is separate from the paper market, so this is quite an opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. When this all gelled in my mind, I said, I got to talk to Sal.
Yeah. Well, this is exciting. Yes, this is definitely exciting. This is slurp worthy indeed. I'm going to take a slurp right now in your honor for this. Let's see here. Well,
Oh,
very good. Well,
what a
that's neat.
blast.
And I'll tell you what, for Viva's situation will not necessarily mean that you will have this same opportunity. This is one of those cases where the paper spot price can work to your advantage. One of the very rare instances where in such a case. But I think
Very
it,
good point.
but I think it's a fascinating thing to consider, where an IRA, a precious metals IRA, may work for somebody. But most people, when they think about a precious metals IRA, they're thinking about making money with it. But the markets have been wild for quite a while, and in fact, the silver market has been pretty stagnant for a long time. So, but this provides a great opportunity for Viva Watson. So, when you do this,
I think a lot of people. I fear that a lot of people, stackers,
right?
are the people we love. All these stackers, they think that you actually you can never take possession of your physical metals, and if you are starting an IRA, that would be the first question
Right.
that
Oh,
you would
yes.
ask of your, what I call a custodian. I'm not sure that's the correct name.
But there is physically metal being stored someplace, and it's not like an ETF or a futures market. You're putting money there. You're actually putting money into physical metals. You get the metal. They're shipping it to your door, and which makes this opportunity incredibly neat. But that is fascinating. That's an interesting and fascinating look on a precious metals IRA and this unique opportunity that has arisen for Viva Watson here. So, is there any other anecdotes or any other stories you have, or any other experiences you've had as of late that you want to share?
Well, there is something that happened this morning. It was a little another one of those downsides. This is number 4 downside for the stackers out there. I called up my IRA custodian and I said I'm thinking of taking the whole stack out. And so he says, "Oh, okay." So they sent me a PDF via email, and so I downloaded it. And then all of a sudden, there were all these things I had to sign into my account. Okay, that was no problem. But then I had to answer all of these questions, very interesting questions about where I lived literally over the last 40 years.
Wow.
And I never disclosed this information to this company. It wasn't a secret question. You know how you have secret questions with online accounts.
Right.
This was, they went back into my history literally over 30 years ago, even 40 years ago.
Wow.
And how do they, so my Social Security number, I guess, is associated with the where I have lived, I guess, with my voting or whatever. I don't know, but they have this information in those big hard drives in the sky.
Right. Yeah. Wow.
And that's also disturbing. That was very disturbing to me.
Right. That means they know what you own and know where you've lived and that's just it. Since they have all this information, now they know what precious metals you own or may keep or what have you. So that's crazy.
And the other side, however, they want to really know it is I who wants these metals taken out, and I'm going to tell them where to ship them, and they want to be certain. They don't want to send them to somebody else.
Right, which makes sense.
Nobody could have answered these questions except me. I'm, not even my husband or anybody.
Right. So I guess in that aspect, that security clearance, I think, does make sense. But some of the questions, it sounds like, really didn't need to be known or whatever by anybody. You could prove your identity a myriad of different ways. Then it sounds like some of these are relatively personal, so that makes sense. Well, very good. Well, I think we've covered a pretty good amount of information behind a precious metals IRA, from its inception to its potential distribution now, when you take possession of the metals. So I want to thank you, Viva, for coming on and sharing this experience. It's been very eye-opening. any of those people who are interested in a precious metals IRA, we have the company that she works with, but this is not an endorsement of any particular IRA company.
That is New Direction.
Right.
IRA, I believe it's .net. Okay, New Direction, singular. Don't say New Directions.
Right.
It's New Direction. IRA, I absolutely am not paid by them to say this, but these people absolutely allow you to withdraw your physical metals from your vault.
Well, very good.
I mean, they say so. I haven't gotten them yet.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, I pray for a smooth shipment of your metals whenever that time comes, and it's been a great experience. And I want to thank you, Viva, for taking the time to share with my viewers all this information.
Happy to do it.
All right, very good. And a multitude of gratitude to you all for taking the time to listen, and encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and say it, Viva.
Subscribe.
Boom.